On this really windy, cold day in winter, I'm with Pete Glassey at Burghley Park. Pete Glassey has been Chief Forester here for over 30 years.
Yeah.
You're responsible for organising all these amazing trees. And one thing that you've been doing, which I find fascinating, is you've been felling a lot of the avenues and replanting them. Now, felling trees always causes controversy, but tell us why you are felling trees.
Well, we have a busy park, we have a lot of events, and the three avenues we're going to see today, two of which were planted by London and Cook in 1690.
1690, so that's like 300 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're two clones of the common lime, Tilia europea, and they're reaching a stage where we were losing a lot of trees, and we are losing a lot of trees through high wind events like the one we had yesterday, Storm Pier. And I think the trustees got to this position where we're losing the integrity of the avenue. The avenue was ceasing to become an avenue feature. And one thing about an avenue feature is that it needs to be an even-aged feature. Otherwise you lose the form of the avenue. So we're faced with this really difficult decision. How do we replace it? What do we do? When do we do it? And it just reaches a crunch point where we're losing so many trees. We're getting the avenue was becoming increasingly gappy, and we bit the bullet. So we're going to see Queen Anne's Avenue shortly, which is over a mile long.
Wow.
From the south front of Burghley House goes right up to the A1, which we felled and restored between roughly the mid-80s and 1997. One of my predecessors started it, and I came in 1992 and felled and replanted the majority. So we're going to have a look at this later. This is Carpenter's Lodge Avenue. This is a later avenue planted by, or just after Lancelot Brown left Burghley in 1780, and he planted, or the designer planted Tilia cordata, and this is one that we lost yesterday, and we're getting a huge amount of problem with a decay fungus called Ganoderma australis. And this particular fungus is a selective delignifier, and lime trees can't compartmentalise the decay fungus. And so we're left, so the wood is degraded. So you can see how stringy and rotten it is, Bunny. And there's a very narrow, about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of sound wood holding this huge tree up. So we're a public park, we're right next to the golf course, and this is obviously a tree risk issue.
Wow.
And you've seen many, as we've walked up here, you've seen many of the trees are infected or have this Ganoderma, which incidentally I love, but apart from, because it opens up so much for biodiversity and makes a tree more interesting, but for a tree risk point of view, it's a bit of a nightmare because we're losing trees in very heavily populated areas.
So London and Cook planted something like 5,000 avenue trees back in the 1600s, late 1600s, which is a massive amount. Then Brown came along and he ripped out most of the avenues, just kept the north and south, or north and Queen Anne's Avenue, which are the ones that you've felled and replanted now. So Brown had no qualms about wiping all these avenues away, but you are now keeping to Brown's original intention and restoring them faithfully, pretty much to what he anticipated. So that's a bold decision on your part, isn't it? Because people don't fell trees lightly, but obviously it's a major architectural feature of this park, and you've taken the bullet and you've done it, and we'll see the success of your work.
Well, I hope so, because I think we're also very fortunate. We're stuffed full of loads of veteran ancient parkland trees. So I think the effect of the avenue felling is mitigated by the fact that we have got a lot of infield veteran ancient trees from William Cecil when he first landscaped the park. And
back in, when was that?
1560s, 1590s.
So these are really odd-shaped trees that you've crown reduced.
And they're resilient, and they're living and mouldering away nicely and full of biodiversity, full of wildlife, full of fungi, fantastic potential. These avenue trees I view as a feature rather than as a collection of trees. This to me is a landscape feature, and I think that's what we have to divorce or look at when we're making these tough decisions. I hate felling lovely trees, but I'm trying to restore an avenue feature, and I think that's where the difference is.
Right, let's go and see what you've done. So Pete, this is your work.
Yeah.
So you recreated this.
Yeah.
Explain what you've done.
So this is Queen Anne's Avenue, and this was originally planted in 1690, between 1690 and 1700.
Right.
Brown, as part of the axial formalism of the London and Cook design, and Brown retained this avenue. He removed most of the avenues at Burghley, but he retained this north-south axis. And this is Queen Anne's Avenue, and extends from the south front of Burghley House for roughly a mile up to what is now the present A1.
Wow.
And it originally consisted of the two clones of the common lime, the pallida and the tall clone.
And did he mix them?
He intimately mixed, London and Cook intimately mixed these lime trees.
So random mixing?
Yes.
That's weird.
It is weird, yeah. And when we see the two clones, which I'll show you, you'll see it is weird. So that's why I've gone the way I have with my avenue restorations. This avenue actually, because I wasn't at the start of this, I had to follow what my predecessors had done, and this avenue actually consists of totally pallida. So all common lime, but all pallida. There's no tall clones at all.
So Tilia cross Europe here, pallida in inverted commas.
Yes.
Right, so it's a clone of the common lime.
Yeah, a Dutch clone.
A Dutch clone. And the characteristics of this clone is it's not so sweet smelling, the flowers.
No, they are sweet smelling.
Oh,
so it flowers profusely. So it has 10 to 12 inflorescences.
Yes.
And but it's rather messy in form. It has lots of sprouts, lots of epicormic growth.
I can't see that many here.
No,
you
it hasn't.
say that. I was expecting to be really bushy.
It starts later, so there's one over there, but we'll show them as we go through the park.
So the epicormic growth, the sproutiness at the base of lime trees starts later on in their life. About what age?
I don't know, because I haven't actually experienced that, but I think I'm pretty sure that they will start fairly soon.
Right, okay, and that's what we all hate.
Yes.
It's ever King Charles who topiarizes his and cuts them into sort of neatly shaped buns.
Yeah, well I think that the beauty of pallida actually, from a sort of tree risk and wind firm point of view, is they're very fastigious, and you have a lot of co-dominant stems, but they don't tend to catch the wind. So you get a lot of, with the tall clones, you have these massive lateral scaffold branches which twist in the wind, and that's when you get the branch breakage. But as far as resilience is concerned, as far as tree wind and tree risk is concerned, the pallidas are really good. I planted these in 1994.
And you planted them at what size?
I planted them at light standers or feathered trees.
So probably 6 foot?
Yes.
And you planted them from ones you had brought in?
Yep.
You'd brought them in, and you didn't stake them?
No. Yes, we did stake them. We put a light stake in. Yeah.
Oh, really?
And we used lots of horse trials carpet as a mulch, so we get a huge amount of horse trials carpet from the members area.
Yes.
Which I cut into 1 metre squares.
Yes.
Put them around the base of the tree, and I haven't lost one tree.
And when you got the avenue initially, so you got the chainsaws out, you felled the tree.
Yep.
And then you planted these trees in the exact same hole where you felled the old tree.
Yes.
Now that I find fascinating.
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Because we didn't want to lose the integrity of the avenue, and it becomes more evident when we go to North Avenue at the front.
Yes.
So we removed all the chippings from the stump, refilled.
So you had a chipper.
Yeah.
Right down to the ground level.
Stump ground. No, right down below
the ground.
Below the ground level.
By about 300 mil?
No, right until the main stump is out, basically. So there's just the laterals left. So you have a nice, clean, round hole. 600
mil deep?
At least, yes.
At least,
yeah.
Yes.
And then we would refill with clean topsoil.
Yeah.
From next to the avenue.
Right.
Put in the hole, and then replant the tree. Left it for about a few months, so it all settled down.
Otherwise, the soil falls away from the roots more.
And then we just put the tree in.
So that is what everyone says you should never do, but it works.
Well, I think it works here.
Yeah.
And I think as Blue Peter would say, this is one we prepared earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Very nicely put.
Yeah.
And when you put those trees in, Did you irrigate them? Did you water them?
No.
Even though there were 6-foot trees and you're on pretty free draining soil.
This is Northampton sand and ironstone on here, so it's
free draining soil. But the secret is to get them in before Christmas.
Get them in before Christmas.
So the soil's warm, the roots start to grow a bit.
Mulch, keep weed suppression is vital. That's why we use horse trials carpet.
Yeah.
And we didn't lose one tree.
Brilliant. Okay, let's go and see where you've propagated your own trees.
Cool.
So Pete, this is a pallida.
Yep.
So it's got the epicormic growth, which we can see here.
And up here.
And up there, yes. And it's got this buttress, as you call them.
Yeah, so it's really big, heavily fluted buttressing. And it's a better example actually around here. But it's unique to really this variety or this clone of the common lime. And so this one is again a London and Cook pallida. Yes. And this formed part of what we call the Jubilee Avenue, which Brown has chopped blinking great holes in because he wanted to give the visitor views across the lake or across the river. So this avenue is one that he chopped basically. This is the Burghley Tall, and very impressive tree, and so this is the one we've been propagating from our layering beds because I'm not sure where we could source a tree like this. So for the North Avenue restoration, we've been propagating the tall clone.
Fabulous. Let's go and look at your layering.
Okay.
So Pete, this is your layering bed. So you've got the old stump of a Tilia cross European
tall clone
or Burghley tall.
Yes.
Yeah. And you've got that, and you've taken the shoots. Explain.
So you take a shoot, put part of the regrowth. Yeah. And then you will peg it down here.
Yeah. Just onto the soil. You don't.
Onto soil.
You don't scar the underside of the branch, because they often say that in books, but you don't.
I don't. I just put a blinking great clod of earth on top.
Yes. This is the technical thing.
This is a technical term.
Yep.
And then I will force that up a cane or a tube.
Like you've done that.
Like I've done here.
Pull it up. What, before you've obviously wait till it's rooted?
No, you do that straight away.
You do that straight away.
So I put a clod of earth on here, force that up a tube, stake it, leave it connected onto the tree for 1 or 2 years.
So how long has that been?
That tree has been layered for a year now.
Right.
So this is just 1 year's growth.
Yep.
I will cut it off the parent plant.
Yep.
And we have ourselves a tree. And you'll get roughly 30 trees per stump.
Wow, that's amazing to see that. But you can go on, so next year you might get another 30.
Yeah.
So how many trees have you had from this stump?
About 60.
Wow.
So the trees behind you, Bunny.
Yes.
Half of the trees are tall clones which we propagated from this stump. So this is a new avenue planting to replace the one that Brown removed.
Right.
So it'll give us time, give us landscape succession, while the avenue behind you, if that deteriorates, we've got another avenue, so there's always a feature. And this is what we're trying to do, is to future-proof Burghley Park with our avenue planting.
So Pete, this is North Avenue, which you cut down and replanted.
We started that section in 2003, and then the section over there in 2004, and then we've been going down the avenue up to about 2009, and then we restarted it last year, and we've now completed the felling of North Avenue.
And replanting.
And we haven't finished replanting yet. We've still got this year's felling to stump grind out and to replant next year. So we'll finish the replanting, finish the restoration this time next year.
Whoa!
Yeah, which would be great.
Cracking the champagne.
Yeah.
So it's massively wide. Yeah. It's about 40 metres, I've just paced it. 40 metres wide, and 6 metres again between the...
6 metres along the rows between the trees,
right.
And roughly I think 8 metres between the 2 double rows.
Right, and then you've got the pallida on the inside and then the Burghley tall on the outside. And you've lined it up. Well, he lined it up.
London and Cook lined it up with the exact centre of Burghley House and the bow room.
And how long is this?
I was hoping you weren't going to ask me that actually. It's nowhere near as long as North Avenue. I would say it is about 500 metres, something like that.
How did they set that out? So the mile-long avenue, how did they physically set that out to be perpendicular, straight lines?
I don't know, but
String?
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
no lasers.
I've got a guy with a laser thing, and he's set the tree stations out absolutely exactly for me.
But why did he have to do that when you were replanting the exact same?
Because I wanted to make sure in posterity that I don't get the avenue slightly out of kilter, or each tree station out of kilter. So I'm a perfectionist. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right.
And when they did it, London and Cook did it, they had it absolutely straight, did they?
There's one or two that are out, I think, a little bit, maybe one or two, but I'm not going to criticise.
Yeah.
I can honestly say, hopefully, that in the future people look at my avenue and say, yeah, it's straight.
Pete did a good job.
It's straight, yeah.
Thank you very much, Pete.
Okay.
This is fascinating.
Thank you, Maddie.
And happy Christmas.
And happy Christmas
2
to you too.
days away, or was it 3?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.